Right, the next topic we're going to have a look at from the GCSE Foundation papers is going to look at scatter graphs. Now these come up fairly often, so it's definitely something worth learning. They do tend to be quite standard, apart from part D where it asks about correlation, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, the actual question is about 10 cars, and it's looking at basically what their price is compared to how old they are, okay? And you assume that they're all the same make and same model car. Part A, write down the price of the new car. Now, obviously, new car refers to how old it is. If it's new, you have to think carefully here. It isn't 1 year old. It isn't half a year old. It isn't 2 months old. If it's brand new, which you have to assume it is 0 years old. So what it's going to actually do is this point is going to lie somewhere above 0 on the x-axis. So for me, it's going to be that point, which is not that clear, that I've just put a red circle around. Now the next thing obviously is to read off the price, but be careful of the scale, okay? It's not necessarily going to be going up in hundreds or thousands or tens or whatever you think it may be. You sometimes have to work it out. Some of you may want to do this as you go in, and then others may want to work it out before you answer any of the actual questions. To work out the scale, if you can't see it, is if we have a look here, the increase divided by the number of gaps. So by increase, I mean on the y-axis, how much has it gone up by from one number to the next? And then number of gaps is you're going to be counting the little squares between them. So you could look at the increase between 0 and 2000 would be 2000. 2000 and 4000 would also be 2000. 4000 and 6000 would also be 2000, right? So it doesn't matter what point you pick on the line. The increase is 2000 each time. And divide by the number of gaps. Well, if you look, there are actually 10 little squares between one number and the next. So it would be 2000, the increase, divided by the number of gaps, 10, and you get 200. So what that actually means is each one square you go up is worth £200. So for me, write down the price of the new car. I found the point. It's above 6,000. It's actually 2 squares above 6,000. So 1 square would be 6,200. 2 squares would be 6,400. Okay, so that's 1 mark for my first one. Write down the price of the oldest car. Oldest car is obviously going to be the one that is furthest to the right-hand side, furthest across on the x-axis. So for me, it's that one. Obviously, basically, you're just going to draw a line across and read off. I would advise you to line up your ruler so that you don't accidentally go up or down from the actual value. So I've just drawn a little faint green line and I've read it off, and this one's a nice easy one because it lies on a number that have already been given to us, so 2000. Right, draw by eye a line of best fit on the scatter diagram. This always comes up. A line of best fit is basically a line which represents all of the points in the scatter diagram. So basically, it's an average, right? I want to be fair as I can be towards the 10 cars. So my little note here, line of best fit, is what you're aiming to do when you draw your line, and we'll do that in a sec. Aim for balance of points above and below. So if I've got 10, it doesn't have to be 5 above and below, but what I don't want is 9 above and 1 below, or 1 below and 9 above. So basically I'm looking for sort of a 5 and 5 balance, or 6 and 4, either way. So for me, just looking at it roughly, and there's no spot on here, you have got a bit of margin for error. I'm going to draw mine there, okay? You can see I've roughly got as many points above as I have below. Not perfectly, but it's not really skewed towards one way or the other, okay? So that's my line of best fit. That will get me the 1 mark. Next bit, write down the type of correlation. There's 2 types of correlation you need to know. One is positive, one is negative. This is just looking at patterns. If it slopes up from left to right and it goes upwards, it's a positive correlation. And if it slopes down from left to right, it's a negative correlation. So you can see this one slopes down from left to right, so it happens to be a negative correlation. There's also no correlation where the points are just randomly dotted about, but you don't really tend to see that in foundation papers. Last one, they're always going to ask you to use your line of best fit if you are actually required to draw one. So use line of best fit, I've written down. Estimate, the reason why it says estimate is because, as I said before, the line of best fit is very unlikely to be spot on, okay, but as long as it's close enough, that's fine. The price of a 2.5-year-old car. So they want me to find the price, they've given me the age, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to find 2.5 years, which is going to be on my x-axis, draw a line up to hit my line of best fit. Where I hit my line of best fit, I draw a straight line across, okay? So my line goes up, hits the blue line, goes across, and then I'm going to put a little dot on my y-axis, okay? So 2.5 years, I know, is just less than £4,000. Remember, back at your scale, 200 for each square. So if I count down from 4,000, 3,800 is 1, 3,600 is 2, 3,400 is the third one, okay? So tend to be pretty straightforward. Just be careful of the scales and the correlation. Positive goes up from left to right, negative comes down from left to right.